analyze the city as an archipelago. And it may be a difficult word. So first, we don't just immediately get our eyes on site. Because at first we study whether we regarded a city as an island, whether it's true, how it works. So what is archipelago? It's like a group of islands, and you see there's some features. The island is separated, but they are not very far away, but they are physically different. And everything will be complete in their own island, but the communication will be weakened. And what is common in one island? The people, because the people are separated, so the language, the face, and the sense of worth, maybe the expression of the beauty will be the same. Otherwise, the people will leave their island. That's why in one island there will be some common features. Then, why city will act as an island? There may be two reasons. One, Rome was not built in a day. That means a city development is in time, and it's not immediately. So I will introduce more detail later. And secondly, is when cases come, this means that the city development is not naturally, it's by arbitrary, and it means we plan and then develop. This is the diagram of the first way. This different shape is that of the different choice of the building. Why? Because the ancient come to this vacant plain, and they will choose the best place to build their buildings. And of course, they will not be the neighborhood because they are for the different purpose. Maybe some is for the religion and some is for the politics. And then the people will come and gather here. And in this picture, you can see that only the city square will come together. That means only the people who agree with the X choice, they will get together. Otherwise, they will leave. And then, because people are more and more, it's growing, and the area is limited. So when they will come across, they have to form a boundary. And then, just thanks to the group 3 had already introduced, the main road is when you walk on this road, the difference is on the left side and the right side. And that's why the boundary will form a road at last, because the people come here, they will decide which is their choice. And if they agree with the shape of this area, they will turn right. And if they are not agree, they will leave. So the boundary will be the island. The main road will be the boundary of the island. That's why we can define what is the shape of an island. And maybe because this is in a natural way, so the renewable is inevitable. So maybe some mixing will happen near the boundary. But at most situations, go to Romans and do like Romans. They will also interact with the surroundings. So there maybe the common feature will still exist in one island, but it is far from the center, because the only point may be the center of the island, and the boundary, the control power of the boundary will be weakened. And the function, because each island is developed in the same time, that means they have to solve the problem by themselves. And so the function will be more mixture and homogeneous. And you can see that although the shapes are different, but the distribution of the function is almost the same. So the result can be concluded in three simple ways. One is the weak boundary, which I have explained, because the control power is weak. The second, the functions are mixed and homogeneous. And three, the development is isolation. It's just like in 3D, it's just like the former and the follower and the after. They are like a straight circle. And this is the second way. It's actually arbitrary. First, of course, the action have already come, no matter where it's come. They have formed the plan, but when we want, the planner will to decide to divide this plan. may respect some of the ancient, and they divide the road before the people has come. So still in this situation, the road is still the separation of island because the planner has already done this. And then all the buildings will be carried out, and then you can see there were in one island the buildings are mostly built in the same time because they are carried out by one after one. And the position of the ancient may be not in the center because it depends on whether the planner is put emphasis on this. And you can see many other functions are more concentrated in this place because they regard this island not a group of islands, but they regard this as one whole island. That's the difference. And also the function will be more concentrated. So the result is in the second way, the boundary will be very strong and the function distribution is more concentrated. And the development follows the area plan. So it's just like this action, and then just shoot another island at the same time they all build. And the other time they build. And in one area, the shape may be the same because it's done by one government. And now this part 2, we should analyze the site. Because we have already discussed about the importance of the road, the main road. That's why we can choose the main road as the boundary of an island. But it's not enough. Because in one island, of course, the old building, the position of old building, the boundary strength, and the height and density is features in island. But how can we find the trace? Because it's not done in one day. It needs a process. And so that's what is more important is add the fourth dimension, time. So this is our model. Because we have already modeled, so we compare. So the red point stands for the most which we marked the plan is have an important role in this site. The red stands for the function in the function ways, and the green, the yellow stands for the historical spot. And which we care a lot is just the position of the point and in the island. And you can see that all the important, especially the historical point, are near the boundary of the island. It's not in the center. That means we may not follow the first mode. And also, the very important point of the function are also very concentrated. That's also shown in this way. So, okay. And the boundary. The boundary here, and these are two kinds of boundary. The black stands for the building facades, and the red is the wall. And maybe they are the two different, have two different features, and we are different from group 1 because we choose the boundary just of the island, because we have to study the island in a whole. And from this model, we can see that because the height of this card stands for the height of the boundary. And you can see the boundary is very close, very strong, and it has surrounding an island. And you can see some of island the boundary is missing. So this will be a situation we will discuss.
One thing, express the time of each island.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I forget. In these models, that we present time with the color of the materials. The more dark the material is, it stands for the more old it is. So, and that's not what we have supposed at first, but it shows at the last. That means each island are in the same time, not like a target. Yes, that's the result, but it also can be a good evidence for the conclusion. Okay, the height. That's it. This is also because just we have introduced that we can get this from the urban planning. And why we just make these two models? Because it also contains information of the time. Because in our consideration, the height and the density are have very deep connection with the history and the need of the population. So you can see, although we have taken the average height and average density, but it still shows that they are almost the same in one island. So this is the proportion of the public space and private space. This is the density accurate number. And maybe the detailed result won't be discussed today because today we must focus on how we analyze this island. So what the model tells us, the area is developed in the second mode because, as I have already introduced, in the second mode the boundary is very strong and the building are almost in one island is built in one time, and we can get the conclusion from this comparison. And why we should study this? Because if we want to design a site, it will have an influence in the future. But we may not have the abilities to just predict the futures. But if we have already found the mode, and it may have the same model in the history, and we can take them into consideration, and also we have the different in the site especially, but we can also use them when we design. Okay, the conclusion. And since we have already known that it is developed in the second mode, which is planned by people, so the question is now always carried by the main design. And since we discussed this island as we discussed this site as an island, we should consider about three ways. One, the boundary. The second, the site in the island, the role in the island, and the third, the role it is to the other island. So our implementation is not like the former group from one view, because we must consider the whole island as an entity, one entity. So this will be some picture. This is mainly about this area, the inside side, and the complexity and the different complexity of function is not denied, but this may be not the main point. And just has several buildings, and it's also great vacant. And to analyze this, we just found that maybe one style of this is quite good because the position of it, and then the whole island is still near the railway station. So we think this is not a good place for estimate. We prefer it to like a walking studio. So we may prefer that in the whole, this is maybe not a one view is easy, but it will be the topic of one island. And this is for the Chica. Also, we can never deny that the complexity here, but to this we focus on the boundary. The boundary, because it has been separated strongly by the train, and we can only look through from this small hole. We can never forget island and islands also have a connection. So in our point of view, the main point of this particular island may be the connection between the island. So we prefer to open the space between the boundary and then maybe think this is all the time. And we may find a good solution to open the boundary. And this is maybe the white case. This is the most modernist way. And you can see the vehicle here is very much on the road, and the high rise is very more. And it's inevitable that the people is growing. We need the building like this. But so we still maintain them. But what is the question is, when we plan this, we in two modern ways. We just consider about the efficiency. So we may forget the importance of the communication. So that's our third idea about the white. Okay.
So I suppose there are some questions or some doubts. And I ask also the other people in the group to speak. I'd like to make everybody in the groups express themselves.
How do you define your
Island, yes.
example with
Let's go to the focus. So that's why I always ask you to about how you choose the section of things. Because it's obvious that we can define the island in every shape. It's okay. Just depend on how you regard, how you think with this island. And now the question is, we should do something like a renewal, and we should know the trace of the development. At first, in my this is okay. I have introduced two models. It's maybe based on assumption, and the common feature is the main road will be the separation of the island. Do you understand in this part that the main road will act a greater role when we divide the island? Okay, this is okay. And then, because the two ways shows that the building here will develop in the different time. That means the shape, the function, and the need may be also adjusted with time. So we add the second, the fourth dimension is the time. It's like this. And then we go to the summary. Okay, the marrow is already here, just like why they choose the section orthogonal to this marrow, because this road is quite, the left side and right side are quite different. And the second, about time. Because the time, I have already said time division like this is the result, not we just divide by time. And we may find the relationship in one island based on the boundary have already, the main road, some road we may forgot to drop them away because they seem to not like quite different from left side and right side. But some of them are still walks. And then we compare these two rows and we define the island.
ask another question. Are the connection and the relative position of each island important for you or not?
You mean the relationship between the islands?
Relationship between islands and the relative position of each island.
Island and the relative position.
Yeah.
What do you mean about the relative position? You mean the conjunction?
Just the
You mean the
connection.
conjunction, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's come to this. This is our boundary mode. And as in the second mode, the boundary will be very strong. And also, you can see some of the absent here. Some entrance we are shown here, but it's not enough. Because although we have defined this as an island, but in a more weighted way, this is still an island.
Yeah.
So I think the conjunction, I mean relative position is still very important because they are island. We consider them, and we also consider island between islands. The relationship is still very important. That's why we study the boundary.
Thanks.
So what's the meaning of all these colors? Because we have seen rectangles and
The shape,
circles.
yes.
Yes, but the same shape and have different colors. So you express it.
The shape stands for maybe. At first, the shape stands for because the ancient come here and choose to build a building here for different purpose. And because of the different purpose, they will design different shapes, different volumes. And then why we use the same shape of the followers? Because I just implied that the followers are who agree with the ancient. What is have already existed he decided to live here means that he has the same sense of value, and he will choose a familiar or a similar shape like center. So that where the building I present here in the same shape with the old. And the next, the function, because the function will change, because we have already a building here. But the function will always change with the times going. But if the building is removed, it can still stay its shape. So the function will be different color. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. There's a star in the.
A star, okay. This star is means that many ancient points has the different attractiveness.
I have a question.
Roma is not built in one day. Yes, do you know the history about this area?
Roma is
Because
this area. Okay, the radar.
I mean, yeah, it's Milan is destroyed, was destroyed badly in World War II. This many of you there was built just in several years. So do you think it's there in history or?
Yes. I have from the start. The time which reflect on the model is the result. Not we just divide by time. It's the result. And we don't know which mode it is. This side is developing. That's why we use the time method to show you these models. And we can conclude that because in one island, the building are mostly built in one time, so we can say it is in the second model. Otherwise, it shows like this. It's like a radian and circle. Maybe this can be included in the first way. So this is the result, not we defined by this rule. Okay, Patrick.
During your analysis, you have shown, proposed your theory of the islands of the archipelago. Now, I wanted to ask you, on your presentation I didn't see any photographs of it. How did you arrive to this idea of the archipelago?
So, yes. You mean that how can I get these two assumptions?
Yes, and why?
Yes. Okay, this may not present in the PPT, but it's also some ways like the city development. Because no matter the scale of the, maybe too small is not okay. In a medium scale, it doesn't, this way it's just developed like the satellite city. The satellite city is still in some ways like this. The ancient choose the best place to develop the city, and then the followers come, and they will form a satellite city. It's something like that. Do you agree? So I just borrowed this idea from the upper plane, because it's also, although the scale is more smaller, but I think the reason will be more similar because they have to follow the same rules.
I think that's definitely wrong. Big shapes, settlements, and college, they are totally different from community. That's why we call them community or neighborhood. You can choose island for these and island for this, but they are not the same thing.
Yes, please repeat the first sentence.
Not for
Totally wrong. As a joke, my idea is about you said this one is the process of settlement, something like settlement, right?
Settlement, yes, maybe some.
And the city develops totally different. I think totally different after like 16th centuries or 17th centuries.
What's the second? Next, the second mode. Second. You mean like this?
No, not like this. Because maybe roads are not boundaries, and roads are not because the center have settled there, and the have the road and boundaries. They are planned.
Yes, this is the plan solution. Yes, there still exists another situation. Yes, that the center will not define the road.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not like the light. We plan, it is planned. Yes, as you have said. And in this way, the existence also can be removed because it's planned. But when we plan this area, you have rules to divide different areas. And the road also can adjust to every position. And then now the entrance here. If you don't remove it, you may draw a road here. Maybe it is far from here, or maybe just near to it. It's also can be true. So I introduced two ways in the assumption that there may one is naturally, the first one is naturally, and the second is arbitrary. It's done by plan. So it will show the different result of the city growing.
But you have to place on one
Yes.
that no, I have to plan this city in different island. But the city planner don't do this on this scale. I plan this just by one style or just two style or no style. But I don't plan it like island. I don't do it. Right.
Okay. You want?
I think there is something that is missing here. Because now I appreciate these sketches that you did, but then I think there is one step that is missing. It is to demonstrate that those schemes or those ideas that you interpreted quite freely can be adapted or not to this. You answered to us that you are making this like an archipelago, no? Okay. So I understand that your answer to my question was yes, we can make an interpretation like archipelago. But that is not the demonstration for this site. You understand what I mean? Yes. Okay. So this is, for me, is a lack. I'm quite sure that the answer will be the same, but I think that you should go inside of this and to let us know why, for you, of course, why for you this island, this is the island, and it's different from this one. I think that the difference is not given just by the road. Let's think about Grazie. If you look, let's look on the Google map, Barcelona. You have the city center, that is the historical center with the Roman grid and so on, no? Where there is the cathedral and these kind of things, and all the historical and medieval streets. So partially you have grid, partially you have something different, and so on. On this kind of planning, you know that in the 19th century was something like superimposed the Plan Cerdà, no? And so you have a kind of situation like all the 19th century towns that were growing very much. No? So, and here you have the diagonal, and then here you have the grid coming here. Now I make it wrong, but it doesn't matter. Finally, if you look today on Google Maps, this kind of master plan and the modern movement is the same. When we saw Plan Voisin, is the same. This potentially can go everywhere in the country. No? Potentially, this is growing endlessly. So if it goes on, it will include, and today it is included, here, for example, there is one neighborhood that is called Gracia. It's very famous because it's full of artists and these kind of things. And Gracia was an old neighborhood that was already existing before Amsterdam, because it was an external settlement to the town. And then the growing of the town included it, but it did not cancel. So the Amsterdam is ending. So they did not demolish everything, you know. So actually, when you look at this, you can say that like the historical center, but you know, the historical center was already there. Which is the difference? This was the starting of everything that was growing. This was included in the master plan. How can I recognize this? Okay, it's very easy if you think about. But if you want to describe to us this, I think it's not just, you know, that kind of scheme is a theoretical scheme. When you go in detail and you have on the site, I think you can describe this, okay, not just with the scheme about the road and the buildings, but I think you can go inside and describe where are the roads, which is the relationship. These are information that I cannot find, but because that is something theoretical. Where are the roads? How large are the roads? Which is the relationship between the buildings and the roads in terms of distance, in terms of functions, in terms of all the architectonical features? Because you tell us that this is the oldest, but you don't tell us that this has a settlement direction that is different from this one. So I ask you to give to us more information, to let us understand that maybe you can make an interpretation of your site like different islands. Because if you look the organization of the streets, probably you will find out that you have different plannings here inside, even if not at this scale, okay? And this is one thing. Then you can look at shapes or heights, or you can look at also functions. Because also functionally, I think it is, inside of this, they are very different one each other. So I think you can, how to say, enrich this, giving more information. Is like a thesis. And I speak to all the groups, of course. It's like a thesis to show if this idea is fitting or if it does not fit. Yes.
When first secondary island identified there will be some adjustment to choose which mineral that you can use. For example, the second solution is about this island is mainly about factory and services. This island is about housing and market. This is the modern housing. This is the high-rise modern housing. This is social housing. This is our this is factories and services. This is the level.
Okay, I stop you. I know this, and I agree with you, but you have to show us. So you can convince the critics. If you have to demonstrate. If you want to go on this way. If you want to avoid and go another way, you demonstrate that it's not. You understand what I mean? I know that, and that is one way.
And yes, when we decide when we divide the island, we may concentrate about the function. But there's still another thing. In one island, it's not if the function will change and mix. The shape is also will change and mix because the renewable and the time will change. And if we present this in one item, we cannot say that this is only for this, this item is only for this function, or this item is only for this shape. It's incorrect. And so that's why we not present this in the model. Because if we present, they may be very complex and we'll lose the shape of the item. That's our worry about why we not present this things.
I make you, I tell you this. If these are really kind of islands, I agree with you that you must work on the boundaries and so on. If these are islands, you should tell us why they are. You have to show us. To show us not just the history, but to show us which is the starting planning idea, which is actually, or in the starting point, the functional layout. Maybe it's a starting point. When you make the analysis can be referred to the history, and from the history to the present. And then the project, it's a kind of photo of the future for you. So, but up to now you can make a photo in the past and in the present. So it's not true. I don't say if you make a photo of something, describe it as it now, it does not mean that it can change. And then if you read Ungers or Aldo Rossi, the different parts of the town, they are with features that are not just functional. There are features that are the typology, for example, or the morphology, the shapes. Because when you have the social housing is not different from the others because of the function. Probably is different because of the typology. It is not exactly the density. You understand? So it means like that you should, if you want to convince us and your colleagues, you have to describe to us the specific and most important features of each island. So it means that for each of the islands, so-called islands, they are not really islands, we know, but it means that they have some specific features that are very different from the others. After this, you will tell us what is good and what we want to change. And that will be the project. It's a hard work. So that scheme is fine, but you have to apply to the south. Because if you look like that, it's too much, how to say, generic. And so, you know, people don't understand. No more questions?
You said you defined the island by the...
No, now he cannot answer anymore. He ended the time from here to the end of the year. The other ones.
You define the shape of the island by the root, right? By the root.
Not actually the road. We design the time according to many factors.
Yeah. What factor? For example, I can see from the model is on the root, many rows.
like Dr. Mia has showed on this picture, the island it's a process of development. It's like this. First, there's the most important building, and then the following buildings will influenced by the important building. So there may be some relationship with the important building. So when the area gradually amplified to become an island, so that have some the same features in shape or in function.
One question. When you say important buildings, are these ones that are red?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So why we don't use, because Rossi he speaks about monuments. For him, the monuments becomes the primary elements. You understand what it is? Primary elements is something that can change the function.
Yes.
Primary, it means that it can, the towns is developing around it, and it will never change. It usually does not change, actually, but it can change the function inside, but it keep being an important shape for the symbolic reason and for the function and for the growing of the city around. So probably I suggest you that these ones you can, maybe they are not all of them, they are monuments, but you can call them primary elements. So that they are something like a milestone for the development of the town, if this is what you are thinking about.
Yes, I was thinking about seeing that way. For example, the building Iraq, and it's a old building, like a building, and the area around the building, and then construct these areas that will be those Chinese building. That should have some relationship. I should do
Very short time.
Yes. The monument was the first one. The second one, some of the point may be not regarded as that actually. So the monument, the important monument very well known. And the monument will be important. And the building in the shape is around to keep themselves will not happen. So if the buildings around the building do not belong to the same system, they can be easily demolished or destroyed. If they belong to the same system, they could not be easily changed.
Okay. My suggestion is to take some good references. Or maybe you take some samples. This could be one of them. Or Berlin. So I think I suggest you, and then of course we will go faster. So to find out some good references that you can quote. You cannot do a new theory of the town in 2 weeks. So my suggestion is to take some quotes and some references and some sketches from maybe existing towns or from existing theories. Also. Everybody satisfied with the questions?
As a question, if some part
But this is, island is a quote. Is a quote by Hungarians. So, is when you quote somebody else. So they can decide if to apply or not to apply. To me, it's not an island like separate. To me, it's an island like Berlin. So, for me, it's not out. It's not an island like the sprawl town of Rio de Janeiro. For me, it's something conceptual. Okay, so.
Do you want to explain now what are the tasks for the next?
Yes. 5 minutes. I